welcome to the Glitter and Sage podcast. I am your host, Melissa, and this is episode 4 of the podcast. Today's episode features a conversation with musician and songwriter and my dear friend, Adam Fitch. And so Adam, I met when we were living in community together and working at Omega, a holistic studies retreat center. And so that's where I first got to see him play his original music. And the way he portrays truth in his songwriting is just so beautiful. So I'm so excited to have him on to talk about his music. Also, while we were at Omega, he and a couple of our other friends formed an improvisational music group called The Vegan Beats. So we talk a little bit about that in this episode as well. And we recorded this a little over a year ago. And we recorded it while we were both in India. After the Omega season, I booked a one-way ticket to India and went with my friend Tracy, and we started our trip in Rishikesh, and we were there for a couple weeks before our yoga teacher training started. And Adam also happened to be in Rishikesh. Our separate trips brought us together at the same time, as well with our friend Jackson. So we got to explore Rishikesh together and visit some temples and eat some really delicious food. And Adam also played some music. He had a couple gigs while we were there, so it was so cool to see him play in India as well. And we recorded this episode outside of his hostel overlooking the Ganga River, and it was the beginning of my trip there. So listening back to this just brought me right back to India and can feel so much magic in that. And so also in this episode, Adam had just met the Dalai Lama. So he shares that story with us. He also tells us about his journey with music and music as a spiritual practice. The conversation goes to us talking about visions we've both had while dancing, as well as lucid dreaming. And we talk a little bit about different synchronicities that come up in life. And so it was funny to listen back to this just last week when I was putting the episode together. And listening to the conversation again for the first time after like a year, I couldn't really remember everything we talked about, but the part where we're talking about lucid dreaming, I talk a little bit about mugwort being a plant that aids in that. And just the day before I listened back to this, I was in New Paltz and I went to my favorite herb farm, apothecary crystal shop called Tweefontein Farm. And I had been looking at the tinctures and I ended up getting a mugwort tincture. And also that day went to a waterfall and found a bunch of mugwort growing and picked some of these dried plants to have in a bundle in my room. So then I was listening back to this and heard myself talking about mugwort, and just another example of some funny synchronicities in life. But I got to catch up with Adam this past week, and he gave me a little update on his offerings, that he has a new EP that will be coming out this spring. So I'm really excited to hear that. Also, he is currently offering lessons in guitar and songwriting. So if you feel called to learn from Adam, you can reach out to him on his Instagram at Adam Fitch Music, and I will share the link to that in the show notes with all other links. And I really wanted to showcase Adam's beautiful music in this episode. So to take us into our conversation. We'll hear a clip from his song, In the Breath of the Moonlight. So enjoy.
To tell me it's in giving that I receive, in loving that I feel that love reflecting back on me. And the only presence I need is yours. Since I know my mouth is fed and my bones are warm, although my head is hard and my heart uneasy, I trust the stars that illuminate the dark weren't born to deceive me. In the breath of the moonlight,
Okay, what you just heard is a singing bowl. I'm here in Rishikesh, India with my friend Adam Fitch, a musician. We are both traveling right now and we just so happen to cross paths here, which has been really cool. And we're sitting outside of a hostel in the middle of the city overlooking the Mama Ganga River here, the holy river. I am slightly nervous a monkey's going to come steal the microphone at some point. Or we may hear some dog barking. You never really know. India so far has been proven to be a pretty surprising, magical place.
Surprising, magical place. Yeah, it's true. You never know what you're going to get moment to moment.
It's really been a practice of staying present and alert.
Yes.
Present, alert, walking on the streets, especially to make sure you don't get hit by motorcycles or rammed by cows, as me and Tracy experienced the other day twice.
Oh, Melissa. Yeah, Melissa's been attacked by cows and dogs. And
I love animals, but I'm definitely a little on edge. Once I go to the yoga training, maybe that will chill out. But
maybe some other challenge will come up.
So really cool to be here with you. Adam is one of my friends from Omega that I met there. So pretty cool that our traveling paths have brought us here. And so you've been in Rishikesh for like 3 days now, maybe?
It's hard to track time at this point. Yeah, true. 4 or 5 days maybe.
4 or 5 days, and he already had a gig out here.
Yeah.
Last night at what was that called?
Oliva Restaurant.
Oliva Restaurant in Rishikesh. He opened up for a handpan sound healing concert. How did that all come about so quickly? It was beautiful.
Yeah, well, I just kind of showed up there the night before. There was a concert the night before, and I just went up to the guy who was running it after that and I was like, hey, I'm interested in playing. And he was like, okay, come by tomorrow and give it a shot. And basically we made a deal that if I was good enough, I would earn a free meal. And I earned the free meal.
All right. Mission accomplished.
Yeah, and it was really nice. I really had no intention. I didn't bring an instrument with me on this trip. I had no intention really of doing that. But it was just an opportunity and an experience that I didn't want to say no to. And then I went up to the cafe here at the hostel that I'm at, and same kind of thing. There was a guitar there. I started playing. The guy that works there was there, and I just asked like, "Can I play?" He's like, "Sure." And so I got another gig tonight, and yeah, I mean.
All right, we're on tour in India. Musical tour, now international musician. That's just also a good lesson in ask for what you want.
Yeah.
And sometimes you get it.
Totally.
Yeah, be clear with what you're looking for. So the set was really beautiful last night. What were the songs you were playing? Is that all from your EP?
It's from my EP and then a bunch more songs. The EP currently is just 3 songs, and then and I played, 10 or 11 original songs. Tunes that I've written over the years for the last, 10, 11 years. Yeah.
Cool. Where did so you've been playing music for 10 or 11 years, so how did that all get started?
Yeah, well, I started playing when I was like 13, so it's been about 14 years that I've been playing. It started, oddly enough, you probably wouldn't expect that anybody that actually listens to my music. I started with much heavier music. Well, the first band that I ever learned how to play was Blink-182.
Awesome.
Much like a lot of people from my generation.
Yeah, I've
probably
seen them a
start
couple
with.
times.
Yeah, so I started there, and a good friend of mine who wound up being my bassist for a long time, he taught me my first song. It was a Blink-182 song, and then as I kind of grew older, I went into like heavier and heavier music, playing kind of like death metal sorts of stuff, screamo sorts of stuff.
Cool. I went through that phase.
Yeah, yeah, and it's and I love it. To this day, I
Yeah.
still love it. I don't listen to it really much anymore, but the energy of it, especially to play it and to like be with a crowd, like moving to your music in that kind of way, is like, oh man, it just, you actually let go of that. I don't want to call it rage. I mean, when you're young, I guess it's
Yeah.
kind of rage,
Yeah.
but this kind of internal tension that
Yeah.
is like begging to be like, psh. So
Yeah.
that kind of gave me that outlet when I was younger. But then, like, as I got older, I played with a bunch of bands and that kind of music, and then I hit a point where I wasn't in a band anymore, and I wanted to figure out like how can I still gig without being in a band. So I started picking up an acoustic guitar and playing that and teaching myself to sing. And yeah, I mean, basically through it all, like I basically taught myself.
Wow.
And yeah, so I mean, at that point, I started to sing and play acoustic, and started to actually write my own songs in that regard. And
In high school?
yeah, in high school.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, what was the song last night you said you wrote when you were 17?
yeah. It's called "Tattered Sheets," and I don't when I write now, it's rarely in like the romantic way or like about like a romantic sort of situation, and that song was, and definitely within the same realm of like this emo, but also like hopeful in some ways as well.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite ones.
Mm.
So when you were 17, you wrote that.
Yeah.
And so where do you draw inspiration from now when you're writing?
I think it's not an easy question to answer.
Yeah.
What I find kind of interesting about my writing is that when I write something, it doesn't usually seem to be what I consciously understand at the time is like going through me.
Right.
And then like I notice like a month later, I look at it and I'm like, oh, that's where I was, and it was sometimes it's almost like foreshadowing into like where I am going. So it's like there's something deeper, like a deeper understanding there than I can consciously, grasp. And that's happened quite a few times with quite a few songs. And I tend to not have like a goal in mind when I start writing. I don't have like, okay, I want to talk about this or that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like I get one or two lines that come out that like really feel good inside,
Yeah.
and then it kind of builds itself from there.
Wow.
And a lot of times by the end, I didn't have like I didn't have a goal in mind, but there's like a complete story within it, and I'm like, oh,
It just
okay,
unfolds.
yeah.
Do you typically write the lyrics first or the guitar part first?
Yeah, it's usually guitar, and I think that tends to like kind of create like the color or like the emotion of what ultimately comes out through the words. So they kind of feed on each other after I get like the chords moving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. And then so your other musical project this is how I saw you
Yeah.
first
Yeah.
was a band that was born at Omega,
Yep.
where we were working, the Vegan Beats, and so that's been all improvisational as you play?
Yeah, totally different. For 5 years or so, I was gigging regularly, like with my own kind of singer-songwriter
Yeah.
stuff with other musicians, and I hit this place. What's funny is like what brought me to Omega again this time was because of music, and I kind of hit this like block where I just wasn't enjoying what I was doing anymore. I was gigging regularly and kind of just getting up on stage, doing what I needed to do, getting off, not feeling connected or appreciative of the experience. Just like it was like a job.
Yeah.
And then I went to Omega this season, and I met these musicians created the Vegan Beats, and we just started to just be improvisational with everything, and not have any direct idea of what we're trying to do, and just so much beauty came out of that, like, and so much of my love for music and the connection for music, like, came out again.
Yeah.
Just kind of woke that up of like, this is what I love, is just like being in the moment with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it just, that totally shook up my musical life again, in a way that I didn't know I needed that, but now that it's done that, like, it's opened up now my whole, like, singer-songwriter life as well, like, much more heart again within it. Yeah.
So beautiful. Yeah, so the Vegan Beats is with our friends Greer and Joy, and they both play different versions of harp. Joy on the Chinese harp, and they do vocals. Tyler's like the lead vocalist, you'd say, and Dan doing percussion, guitar, vocals, and you do guitar and vocals.
Yeah.
And so being in the audience, watching that kind of performance is like so unique to any other performance I've seen, because it really just feels like magic is in the air and like it's just flowing through. So cool. Like the one that's sticking out to me was the Christmas in July party, and you guys were passing around a basket with a notepad of paper, and everyone was writing down their wishes, and then Tyler was opening the paper and reading each wish and singing them into a song and creating a song out of each wish, and they were just weaving together to make this one long, beautiful song, and all of you guys playing instruments just like weaved into that so organically and naturally. It was just like amazing to watch.
Thank you. It's amazing for us, like, and it feels like this interactive experience, like not just within the band, but the people that are watching, and a number of people have come up and said that after, just like, I feel like I'm a part of it, as opposed to like the separation of like the audience and the musicians, and that's huge. I mean, it's like this familial kind of experience, and I love that, that really opens up for me like what I want to be a part of and what I want to do.
Connection.
Yeah.
And so you guys, that was only a couple months ago that started, and now you already have plans to go record your first album.
Yeah.
So what is that going to look like coming? Like, do you guys have a plan? Is it going to be an improvisational, or do you have songs already? Like, you have a couple videos on YouTube and a free download on Bandcamp. Your Bandcamp is theveganbeats.bandcamp.com. You have SoundCloud / The Vegan Beats you can stream. And so for the album, do you think you're going to write songs for that, or do you think it will be improv?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I think we have some ideas within what we want to do, but I also think, since we're going to have probably about 3 months together to do it, I think we're just going to really kind of take our time to feel each other out.
You have 3 months in Mexico that you'll be spending writing? Oh, wow.
Yeah, we'll be, Joy has a house, and we're going to stay there. And
wow.
Yeah, really, really an amazing opportunity. Like, and it all just kind of, we all just met each other so recently, but connected in such a deep way, that it's really like opened this up. So yeah, I mean, we're gonna feel it out. So far, we've like trusted it within each other, and what we've created so far, and I think it's gonna work itself out. But I also think that it's gonna be an interesting challenge for me personally, as someone that has written so much music in like a very like solo kind of way, then to open it up into this very open
collaborative
way. Right, and it's that has its challenges, and I think the challenge of like how do you record improv music where like you're gonna make mistakes because you're improvising, and then can we accept that we make mistakes and still keep that as our album? So I think that's all going to bring up some fun and interesting challenges.
Yeah, I can't wait to see how that unfolds.
Yeah, me too.
Have you been to Mexico before?
Yes, but in like a very family vacation kind of way.
Yeah.
Not like the real Mexico and the real
Wow.
experience.
Where is the house? Like, which part of Mexico?
Kira something. A few hours north of Mexico City.
Okay, is it by
Yeah.
the beach, do you know?
No, it's in the center of the state.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. That will be very cool.
Yeah.
For the winter. Are you all going to come back to Omega? Have you talked about that?
Yeah, it looks like we all will.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. I think I will as well.
Beautiful.
So for your personal music, are you writing any music now? Like while traveling? Has that been a source of inspiration for you?
The way that I see it, I mean, I don't have my instrument with me here. I've just packed really.
It seems to work out fine that
Yeah,
way.
I keep
You keep finding
I
stuff.
keep finding the instruments. They keep coming to me. I haven't been like sitting down and writing,
Yeah.
but I know that it's all churning.
Yeah.
And so like it's basically the way I see it is like when I get back to the U.S., it's gonna pour out of me and
Yeah.
new songs are gonna be there. Yeah, so I'm not worried. I know it's gonna.
Yeah.
It always seems to happen. So
It'll be interesting to see like what kind of influences pop through
right.
after this kind of thing. So on your travels before here, you got to go see the Dalai Lama.
Uh-huh.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Oh my God, he's like the cutest man on
You
the
love
planet.
it.
Oh, he's just like his smile. He's just such like an infectious,
Yeah.
loving character in the world. And like, you know what? That was one of the missions of like coming and going up to Dharamsala, and that's where his temple is. And
Yeah.
was to go see him, and that was just like 3 days amongst like all the travel. But that was kind of like the thing where I was like, okay, there's a purpose, and I'm gonna go, and that's gonna start everything. And yeah, I mean, seeing him like 10 feet in front of my face was an
Wow.
experience, and he's just like I think not only just like seeing him, but like seeing how humble people were like
To be in his presence.
around him,
Yeah.
like and him just going and like blessing them, and I think just seeing any sort of humility in people is like just
Beautiful,
yeah,
yeah.
really a beautiful thing. And yeah, he's just the cutest man on the planet.
Aw. What an experience.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I mean, and just being there, they have so much like, there's like documentaries and all this stuff like about the Tibetan culture and him and his background, and the more that I see and read and feel within him it's just he's such an important person.
Yeah.
In this, especially in this time period, and yeah, really special.
One of the more recent books I read, I don't know if I was telling you about this the other day, was called The Dalai Lama's Cat.
Oh, right.
I definitely recommend it if anyone needs a good book to read. And it was about a cat that like wandered into his temple and lived with him there, and all the wisdom the cat overheard. It was written from the cat's point of view if you're a cat person.
It's so good.
It's a really good one.
Oh, I love that.
Well, it looks like the sun is setting here a little bit where we are in beautiful Rishikesh. The other night we got to go see the art tea ceremony. That was a really beautiful experience here. I'm curious about more of your spiritual practice. Do you have a personal practice you do here?
Yeah.
Like what led you to India? Was it the Dalai Lama?
It was the Dalai Lama. I feel like it's something that I don't completely know how to put into words.
Yeah.
There's obviously a deeply spiritual place. You see it everywhere that you go. Statues and just within everything is there's just a spiritual weaving within the life
Yeah.
of being here, and that's just over the years I've just it's become such a big part of my own life. As far as my practice, I mean, I sit and meditate an hour a day every day, do my stretching, and just trying in general to be as present with my experience as possible. And also just trying to take everything as opportunity,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah.
Does that come does that play any part with your music as well? Like, do you feel like, I feel like music to me can be like very meditative, like dancing can definitely be a meditation, and I mean, I'm not as trained and skilled as a musician as you, but just being in like a jam circle feels very like transcendent to me.
No doubt. I mean, to me, that's my biggest spiritual practice, I guess, is music, because like it really brings you in the moment, and for me, it's like how do I put it? It's like it's not about me. Like the music is not about me. It's like something kind of coming through and wanting to come through, and me like being broken down enough to like accept it. If that makes sense. Like I think a lot of my writing has come out of a place of being broken down in one way or another, and just being receptive enough to that. Like it's not just darkness, because like I think a lot of music has come through me through like from a darkness, but also I think it's just like being in awe of the world and the universe as well, and just like breathing that in, and that's it tends to come out that way, and I mean there's a lot of elements to writing music. Like there's that portion of like receiving the inspiration and like putting it out, and then there's kind of like the editing, like crafting part, and like I guess I can take credit within the crafting part, but as far as like the inspiration of it is like a whole other thing. But yeah, I mean the process is spiritual, and over time the content has become more spiritual, and more God-centric, either like directly said or like in like an indirect way.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you think, do you have any plans to pick up any new instruments? What are all the instruments you play?
Yeah, well, I would say that I'm mostly a guitarist and a singer. I'm a pretty decent percussionist. I can play bass. I don't want to say that I can really do anything beyond that in any like proficient way. Piano I'm fine, I guess, but guitar and singing are my main things. As far as new things, anytime I see an instrument, I'm like a little boy, and I like run over to it. And
we had a fun time in that music shop the other day.
Like,
me and Tracy just went back in there when we were walking around earlier. We'll probably get some shakers, and he had this other little like Indian guitar that was like a one string thing that he was like plucking that and like
doing, doing.
doing, doing, doing.
I don't know what that's called, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. I would like to bring some more back. When I was in Morocco, I try to always bring back like a little like simple instrument that's like an easy one to play. So when I was in Morocco, I brought back castagnettes, the little metal like.
Yeah, hell yeah. Oh, that's good.
That was a good one. Okay. Do you have any favorite music right now? Do you have any go-tos you put on all the time?
Go-tos that I put on all the time. I'm such a shuffle guy. Big
Is
on
it an
big on the
eclectic
shuffle. Yeah, it's a pretty eclectic shuffle. And it's like when I was thinking when we were going to do this interview, I was trying to think and connect like what it is that attracts me about music or what about certain bands. It's like something so intangible. Like
I totally get that.
You know, like it's like I'm just looking for some kind of truth or like genuine energy.
Yeah. And
sometimes I just like music that's like whatever I can move around to, or you know, obviously like there's certain moods for certain things, but for the most part it's like I'm looking for like somebody being actually honest and not trying to sell me something, which is not always easy to find.
Right, especially with like popular music.
Right.
So you have to kind of dig a little deeper to.
Right.
Or just go to like an open mic at a restaurant and see the truth that comes forward.
That's true. Yeah. But I mean, like, there's certain artists over time. I don't know if you know Bright Eyes.
Yeah.
Conor Oberst as a songwriter. To me, like when I started playing like acoustic guitar, he was someone that I looked at, and he opened my mind to this. Like, oh, you can write about so many different topics. You can be really poetic within the writing.
Yeah.
You can It can be a spiritual thing. It can be like a political thing. It can be a love thing. It can be a self-hatred thing. It could be all of these
Whatever
things.
needs to move through.
Right, and that I think that really opened my eyes. So he's always been a huge thing. I don't listen to him so much anymore, but I think for many years as a songwriter, yeah, him and then like Death Cab for Cutie. I think those two, when I was starting, they were the big ones for me.
Yeah, I like them a lot also.
You're doing great.
We're doing great.
We're doing
You're
great.
doing great.
We're doing such a great job.
Well, we could talk about how... Are you going to go to the Ecstatic Dance on Saturday? Yeah, it's cool being like in a totally different country. I didn't really have... I always hope to find music when I'm traveling. So I didn't really have expectations other than just walking around and seeing what there would be. But there's actually been a lot of flyers around the city for different musical performances, and like we found an Ecstatic Dance on Saturday, so that'll be interesting to see compared to back in the US. I think, is it a cacao ceremony too? I think it was on there. That will be interesting to see how they do here.
Yeah, I did one in Dharamshala, actually.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I went to one, and it was the best one that I've been to.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been to that many. I don't want to say I'm so whatever about it, but and I just like... So one thing about being in India that I've noticed is that I've had a lot of like deja vu moments, like these moments of like, oh, I remember this, like this happened, like, and it kept happening in those first few weeks that I was here. I had like, usually for me, like every so often, like once every 6 months, I'll have like, oh, this is weird, like I'm like, it feels like I've been here before, having this conversation before, and it just kept happening, and I had several of those happen during that Ecstatic Dance.
Cool.
And I was just like sitting there, like I danced for a while, and then I just sat and like meditated, and it just like kept like oh, I remember this, like this, and like a past life thing kind of came through me.
Really?
It was just
what
like,
was it?
It was
like did you have like a flashback, like memory, like vivid?
It was this sense like I remember myself as this like very thin man sitting in meditation, similar to like this feeling. What I really recognized like was the feelings that I was having were very similar, and it connected me to that, let's say, past life, you know, if that's really what it was, I don't know, but just this very thin man with like long, like unintentionally dreaded hair, like darker skin. I wasn't like a Buddhist, I wasn't Hindu, I don't know, maybe like Sufi related or something, I don't know, but like the sense of like, I don't know what the word is, like, what do they call them, like an aesthetic familiar? Or something, where like where people that completely separate themselves from any sort of pleasure or like even like food or water, so it's like very thin, like emaciated kind of body.
Wow.
So whatever that means, can't really say.
That's a cool thing to experience.
It happens, yeah.
Wow. I haven't had like a past life regression moment while dancing, but I was taking our friend Ariel's Journey Dance class, and Journey Dance, I'm gonna have her on and do a whole thing about Journey Dance because it's so cool, and I hadn't heard of it until this year. But basically, you're kind of led by a guide, and there's different like dances that you're it's kind of like very therapeutic. Like there was one where you're like throwing things into a fire and then letting it burn and then jumping around the fire. So it's kind of like a moving meditation, very therapeutic. And we did one, and he was saying like during the dance to picture your highest self in front of you. And I had a very clear image of almost like a blue avatar looking person in front of me. Wow. And it was like the most clear vision I've had while dancing before, and so we were kind of like dancing in front of each other, and then she was like guiding with the microphone and was like, and now they're about to hand you a gift, and I saw them hand me a like big conch seashell, and so I'm still like working out what that could mean, but I'm also feeling I might end up in Hawaii at the end of this travel. Like I was looking at flights from like Bali, maybe California, it's along the way to get to Hawaii, and I might meet some people out there. But and then I was telling her that afterwards, and she had said she felt like a beach like seashell presence.
Yeah.
And then the next time I was in that space in Hill House, Parashakti did a shamanic journeying class, and there were like these tarot cards that you pulled during the experience before she led the shamanic journey part. And the card my partner pulled, which she also said, all the cards kind of are a reflection of everyone that was drawn to that space in that time. All the cards kind of reflect to everyone, and the card she pulled was a woman holding a conch shell up to her ear. So it's interesting when these like moments come through. And then being here, there's all these like serendipitous moments. Me and Tracy every time we look at the clock, it's 11 after. Like every time we go anywhere, it's like 10:11. Time to go to, like, we're like on our way out, we check, or like we're about to go to bed and we look and it's 10:11.
Yeah.
It's interesting how those things pop up and are kind of just reminders that you're like, I feel like it's a reminder that you are exactly where you're meant to be, and it's kind of just like a sign from the universe.
Yeah. Life is so bizarre. It's so strange, and like you just never really understand anything that's happening.
Yeah.
For me, I just like the sense of like and it's just so much having to do with your perspective around everything, like how you choose to look at something. You know? Like the most beautiful experience of your life, if you're in a shitty headspace, is awful and it means nothing. You know, it's like, but you're in a good space and like something shitty happens, like, oh, everything happens for a reason and it's fine. Like
there's so much duality and
it's crazy. So it's and I mean it comes back to the whole like spiritual living thing. Like I don't know. To me, it's like before that happened for me, like, or before that started to wake up for me, everything was shit. You know what I mean? Or like, not that it was really shit, but that was my perspective around things.
Yeah.
'Cause I went through some like a lot of depressive episodes when I was younger.
Oh yeah.
And so it's like finding a means to, how do I wake up out of that place and be like, oh, this is actually a beautiful experience being here on this planet. And so it's like, I don't know. So that's what like, to me, it's like I don't feel like I don't have a choice anymore. Like I have to, that's the way I have to live.
On that path, yeah. And once you do, I feel like one door opens after another and after another, and then like this other amazing experience happens, and then it leads you to something else and leads you to meet someone else and have this other conversation. Yep,
exactly. Yeah, and then when you're in the spiritual mindset, all of those things connect and you see them clearly and you're like, oh, these are all helpful within everything.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, it's just like this waking up, this like opening up of your consciousness. You know?
It's really cool path to be on. And so like the other day when me and Tracy kept having these issues with the cows, I don't know what that was with the day, but it was the same day. You guys said you had a weird day that day too. Yeah. And it was just like a weird energy day. I got rammed by cows in the road like twice. We could not make it to the like places we were trying to find like directionally. Like had to give up. We were like walking for like hours and never finding where we thought we were going. And then we just ended up giving up and going home for the day. And then we were doing one of our readings. Like we were reading one of the books for our teacher training, and it was kind of saying like you are everything. Like you are connected to everything, and then we had this like realization that we are the cow, and you can't like be mad at the cow, like that you are everything, and then we stopped being afraid of the cows once we realized that.
That's so funny. Oh, just the little like realization, the little and it's not that it's something that you don't know or you've never heard before. You know?
You just need a reminder sometimes.
Always, yeah.
I think
it's constant needing of that.
We'll continue to need reminders.
Yep. It's crazy.
And then something I was reading today, like about you saying like a vision you had and like a vision I had. One of the books I was reading today that's from my training was saying something about any memory you have or dream you have wouldn't be able to exist even as a dream if it wasn't happening. So that was an interesting. I'm still like thinking on that one, but
man.
You know. A lot of ideas to consider, all sides of.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like at the end of the day, it's a lot of fun to think about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like really interesting and like gives you the sense of like wonder.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, like you really have no idea what any of it really is.
Right. And
like,
if this is all just a dream.
Right. It's just like or some like some little, I don't even know. Yeah, it's all a dream. I feel like this is just a dream amongst another dream, and then we go to sleep, and that's a different dream, and it's all just
a dream.
we keep like waking up, and hopefully like the next one will be a little more like wide open and like I don't know.
Have you ever done any lucid dreaming? Any
Yes.
practice in that?
Yeah. I mean, never in a way that like I was doing it intentionally. But I remember this one time I had like a week straight where I lucid dreamed every night, and I just knew like, okay, I'm going to bed and I'm gonna be able to be awake in it, and just like kind of creating.
You set that intention before you went to bed to kind of set yourself up, or you kind of like no?
I think after the first like couple nights, I'm like, okay, like I was looking forward to it. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go and be able to create something like, I don't know. Remember like creating like a roller coaster like as I was going down it, like being like, okay, now I want it to loop like this, I don't want it to do like this, and then I want it to let go, and I want to fly, and then I want to go back into it.
And you were thinking that in the dream, and it was happening?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, so, I mean, again, no idea what it is, I just went along with it.
Yeah. I remember I've had dreams where, for a few years now, where I've, like, realized in the dream that, oh, this is a dream.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't until when I was in college talking about lucid dreaming with a bunch of friends, someone brought up that when he has that like moment of realization, he makes a conscious decision in the dream, and he said his decision is always to fly. And then that night, like I wasn't able to control when I would have these dreams, but I had a dream, and I was like on this, clearly in a dream, like on this hill, on a castle overlooking like giant green hills just as far as the eye could see, and I like standing on this castle overlooking these green hills, and I had this moment, was like, wait a minute, this is like, I'm definitely not in like Scotland or wherever this is, like this is definitely a dream, and I'm in a dream. And I definitely had a conversation earlier about making a decision, which I've never thought to do when I've had this realization, and then I jumped off the castle and started flying. I was like, I'm gonna fly, just like that guy said.
Oh, yeah.
And then that's happened a couple other times when I realized that I just start flying around, and it's like so fun.
Oh, man.
Yeah. That's one of the things I want to try to spend more time.
Lucid dreaming.
Yeah.
Figuring it out. Yeah.
There's different like herbs you can, like mugwort. I've hung bundles of mugwort like next to my bed to try to encourage the lucid dream. I need to do some more studying on that.
Yeah. Yeah. I would. There was like a course in Dharamshala. There's like Rinpoches, like teachers there. And we got there a little bit late, so before this started, they have like 4-day like courses or whatever, and it was about how did they label it? They didn't call it lucid dreaming, but it was like yogic dreaming or something like that. And they were just saying like all these little things, like you hold one nostril closed and you sleep on your left side, and all of these like little details of like, this is how you're gonna lucid dream. And
wow.
I didn't take the course, so I don't have all of the facts within it, but
that sounds interesting. Sounds like a good one.
There's tips, plenty
Cool.
of them.
Well, that's cool. That little we went a little off the tracks,
Yeah,
and
why
that
not?
brought us right back to your travels.
Why not? All different sorts of travels.
Yeah. And all different kinds of planes.
Yep.
So tonight you're playing. I'm very excited to see another set. I feel like I'm on the Adam Fitch tour right now. You're playing at the hostel here. Are any other people playing, or is this kind of just like...
I think it's just like I approached the guy and he's like, sure. And so I'll just have the control of the thing. And it's a nice little cafe. I think it'll be a good intimate kind of deal. I've always preferred the more intimate kind of settings where people are listening, and I played so many bars in my life and things where it's just like I have to try to shout over people.
Right.
But I'm playing like acoustic music, so it's just like, so this is good. This will be a nice one.
What are the other interesting places you've played? I've seen you play in an art hut, out on the grass by the lake.
Yeah.
Now we're in Rishikesh.
Yeah, interesting venues. Oh man, it's been so many places over the years. I did like do you know what a So Far Sounds? You know what that is? It's like almost like a tiny desk concert, like one of those like YouTube channel things, and I did one of those, and it was like in this like really beautiful yoga studio, with like cameras and microphones, and everybody's super quiet and attentive. That was the most nervous I've ever been, honestly.
Oh, because all eyes are on you.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And what's funny is like, I never got the video footage of it. I never got the audio. I reached out. I never got anything about it.
So it's
like,
all just in here.
Yep. And so it's just like all of like the nerves around it. It was fine. It was good. It went well. And but that was like, if I could do that in a way that was not so tense,
Yeah.
I would love that experience again.
Do you think that's something that comes with like practice? Like, have you found that because you've been playing so long? Like, every time, do you feel like a little less nervous, or is it kind of situational?
Yeah. I'm gonna say most of the time I don't feel nervous at this point, just through repetition and doing it as much as I've done it. But I mean, it's definitely situational as well. There are situations where I'm nervous, or if I don't do it for a while and then I come to do it again. I don't always know what to expect. But a lot of times I like it more when I am nervous. Because then, like, when I do go into it, I'm a lot more, like, in this, like, okay, fuck it, let's do it.
Yeah.
Kind of place.
That's all you can do. And
right.
Yeah.
Just totally embrace it. And then, like, when I'm not nervous, it's generally because, like, maybe I'm not completely in my body or something. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not completely present. I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to do it.
Right.
So I kind of appreciate when it is a little more, like, stressed, maybe. Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so where can everyone find your music, Adam Fitch, and also the Vegan Beats? What are...
Yeah. Well, you can find my music. I have a few different SoundClouds. One is soundcloud.com/mind-and-melody, mind and melody.
Okay.
And then I also have soundcloud.com/ it's soulfolks, SOULFOLKS, soulfolks. And then if you look up my full name on YouTube, you're gonna have best luck with that. I have a lot more there. It's Adam Fichtelberg, which is FICHTELBERG.
Everyone got that?
Yeah. Just go back and repeat it again.
I'll just put all the links in the show notes as well.
Perfect. And Vegan Beats. You had the info for the Vegan Beats, right?
Yep.
Vegan Beats.
Let's see. Yeah,
Honestly,
I think
I'm
I
not in
shot
control
that
of
out
that.
already. The Vegan Beats stuff in camp.com. And you have the free download of Sending Love, which is a really beautiful one.
Yeah.
Definitely everyone check that one out. And then the stream is also on soundcloud.com/theveganbeats. And we can look forward to an album coming up from you guys for that.
Yeah. One last thing is Instagram, because that I'm going to actually start keeping up with. Adam Fitch Music. It's FITCH, Adam Fitch Music is the handle. And I'm going to start updating that and making things happen. And soon will be Spotify, and soon will be all those things. So, yeah.
Maybe you can see on the Instagram we have some videos from last night. Maybe we'll find those on there at some point.
Yep.
Okay, so let me ask you the question that I'm trying to bring into every interview now that it's getting dark here outside in beautiful Rishikesh. So the theme of the whole podcast, the glitter and sage, those are kind of like my symbolic ingredients. Glitter being like live music and festivals and dancing, and sage yoga, which is symbolic of like the yoga and meditation and all kinds of soul work, how those are kind of like ingredients of what makes me feel most fulfilled and vibrant. What would be your glitter and sage?
Well, I think the obvious one for me is music.
Yeah.
And because it's something that, like, not only it gives me more insight and knowledge into myself and what's actually going on inside. Because as I said before, like, sometimes it's not even clear what I'm going through until it kind of comes through. And then it also allows me to connect with people and bring people into my internal worlds, which I think is also a big part of creating and being a creative person, is like the seeking of connection within that, this is who I am, like, come see me, let me see you.
And with everyone else.
Exactly. So I think music is I think the obvious answer within that. It holds meditative. It holds everything within that for me. Allows me to connect to me and other people. So
Yeah.
you know.
Cool. All right. Well, so should we close it out with one more ding of the singing bowl?
Dungy.
Do some sound healing for the end of this. All right. Thank you so much, Adam. Thanks for sitting here with me and talking about your beautiful music. And I can't wait to see another show tonight. Thank you for tuning in to the Glitter and Sage podcast. The intro music is from the song Drishti by my beautiful friends Cosmal. That's Cosmal. Be sure to check out their amazing music, art, and mindfulness videos. And also big love to my creative partner, David Atwood, who does all my sound engineering and video editing. Thank you, David. You can check out his music under his DJ name, Mr. Atwood, ATWOOD. And you can follow me on Instagram at glitter.and.sage. And if you enjoyed this episode, please make sure you rate, review, and share this podcast. I hope your day is filled with so much magic. See you next week.